Hello and welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 815. It's being recorded on March 19, 2025. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Spermberg, and let's keep that typing a little quiet this evening. I've got a bit of a headache going on, so if we could just calm down on the smashing the keys, just hit them quietly this evening. Thank you.
And I'm Kent Burgess. Come on, let's get up for this. Come on.
Oh,
yeah, let's raise the energy level of the room.
Well, I just took a nap, so, I'm feeling good.
We can stay up an extra hour.
I'm jealous.
I haven't been drinking, Just got some water.
Yeah, Josh, let's have a little sip. Let's have a little sip together, shall we?
A little hydration going on here.
Oh,
That is some fine, high quality H2O.
It is because the stuff that comes out of the faucet here, we're the first people from the source. Our town is. And it's the water thing's about 30 miles out of town. It comes straight from the mountain. They hardly put anything in it. They just, get the bad stuff out.
The buffalo do, but that's it.
There's no buffalo in our area. Only elk, moose, deer.
Oh, so that's what's adding to the flavor.
Yeah.
This is the kind of banter that has earned us the 30th best computer podcast ranking.
Indeed it has.
And you're not going to find that kind of quality in the 40th best. That's for sure. No. By the way, you can keep us on the air on your local AM radio station by going to patreon.com/PCPer and giving generously. Do we have a Patreon update, Brett?
I like to pick a couple of random names from the pool and say, hey, thanks for hanging in there. So in that same vein, this week we have D. Wally and T. Goodwill. Thanks to you folks very much for continuing to support us.
Yes, thank you very much. And one of the segments that we hear so much positive feedback about is, of course, Food with Josh. And Josh, you're not going to let our patrons down. I know you have something above average after the depression that was last week. You're going to turn it around.
I just couldn't do it. I knew that there was no special, and two, I just my appetite's been crap lately, which is good for losing weight, but not great for food content. So yeah, there's nothing. I mean, who wants pictures of unbuttered toast?
That's just odd.
Let's move to our first story of the week. And it's not just one story. If you go to the NVIDIA newsroom right now, between the 18th and 19th, there are so many. I think I was on page 4 before I found anything GPU related.
There's more news than you can fit into a leather jacket.
Yeah, it's more news than you can shake a multicolored spatula at. That's for sure. So I don't know, Josh, you were observing some of the things.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular you want to talk about? I know there's an exciting new development in the workstation GPU that looks exactly like a 5090 front.
Yeah. So the RTX A6000 and the RTX 6000 Ada have been selling well, and if you want one of those 4090 type cars, you can get a RTX 6000 Ada for only about $7,500. So but you could pick one up today.
The price of a 5090.
Yeah, almost. But anyway, they've now announced the new 6000, the Pro RTX Pro 6000. They all share the same number, but one's RTX A6000, then there's the 6000 Ada, and then the Pro 6000, which is the brand new one. So yeah, it's a 5090, but it's got 96 gigabytes of memory.
How many ROPs, though?
Doesn't matter.
Infinite.
Doesn't matter.
Infinite ROPs.
No. So that's one of the things that people in the machine learning AI stuff have been complaining about, like, the 5080 and before that, the 4080 and 4070 Ti Supers, is they've got 16 gigs of memory. And a lot of these tools that they use require more than like 24. So we have a gal working at our work that she has to break down stuff a lot to even just get it to fit on 24 gigs of memory. And so 32 would have been an upgrade, but going to 48 is going to be big. And now the prices of those cards of the 4090 RTX 6000 Ada are finally going down. That we're gonna get one at work, but that's still a $7,000 plus type expense. But now they announced the next generation. We don't know the pricing. We don't know the availability and when, but it's going to be up there. And 96 gigs of memory. Another big thing that they announced is this is one of the first real big rollouts of chip photonics.
Yeah.
So that actually is a massive thing. They're working with a bunch of people. It's supposed to be
each one of these interconnects will cost you $1,000, but you're only going to have to buy about 100 of them.
I mean, the technology behind this is insane, and to scale it out the way that they are is even more insane. But they're doing it because they need to, and so this is going to drive a lot of, I think, the chip photonics, which is important for our industry that we cover, and it's something that will be integrated more and more. There's a lot of questions behind it. It's like they've showed pictures of these massive switches, these photonic switches, and even though optical has been around in networking for a long time, obviously you got fiber, but this is just a whole different level of the signal starting on the chip and part of the whole chip infrastructure. And there's questions like, hey, what if one of those ports goes down? Do you have to replace the entire thing? Is it more modular? Is it less? I mean, what are the this is going to cost an absolute arm and a leg. But as far as I know, this is the first major rollout of this technology at this size. So it's a big deal, and it's interesting to see. And I'm going to be curious to hear what kind of effects that has on speed and scalability of these huge, 1,000 GPU clusters that networking has been a what's the big fast networking? Wasn't developed by Mellanox. It's I can't remember what the stinking name is.
Infinity Fabric, Kioxia.
No, it's InfiniBand. Right?
InfiniBand, not Infinity Fabric, but InfiniBand.
Yeah. So it's a lot of this stuff is still kind of Ethernet based, which is kind of funny. Yeah. I mean, someone was making fun of me saying, isn't it amazing how Ethernet has scaled up? And they're like, well, it hasn't done anything. It's like, well, okay, if you look at home networking, going from 10/100 to gig E to 2.5 and 10 gig is, I mean, that's like 30 years and it's been crap. But when you start, looking at these, massive pieces of infrastructure that they're doing, then, Ethernet really has scaled up. And I mean, they've got 800G connections that they're, starting to implement in these new builds. And it's nuts. So it's kind of cool.
NVLink is now looking at 1.8 terabits. Yeah. Which is just insanity. But I mean, considering how fast these chips are going, you need that. Otherwise, your teraflop chip is sitting there going, guys, come on, hurry up. Catch up. I got more things to say.
And it's kind of fun to think that, AMD really was one of the champions of HBM. And, it didn't work out for the graphics card. It was just, a bridge too far at that time. It was too expensive, and implementing it was not very cost effective, and the advantages of that over regular GDDR5 and 6 that later came out, was essentially not there. But NVIDIA and their partners and all of these guys, they're all using huge amounts of HBM, and so HBM4 is going to be rolling out either later this year or earlier next. And it's just, gobs and gobs and gobs of bandwidth, and the amount of storage that they have per chip is again, it's like 192 gigabytes for the GB300. Then they've got their Grace chips. And if you look at that workstation motherboard, which is really kind of
sexy.
That's insane. You got to have some serious cooling. It comes like with a 2,500 watt power supply or something like that. It's going to be absolutely nuts. But yeah, they use those new CAM memory modules. Is that what they're called?
Yep.
Yeah.
2 amps.
So yeah, and so they've got those boards populated out with that and NVMe drives, and it's just really
GPU accelerated NVMe drives.
Yeah. It's
that was one of the things he was saying. Is that these are the first GPU accelerated. About the time he called himself their chief revenue destroyer.
Yeah, it's amazing what $32 billion a quarter will allow you to do if you're a manufacturer. Yeah. You can design a lot of things and hire a lot of people, and you could start rolling out this stuff as well. So it's pretty awesome. I mean, Intel, AMD, they're working with ARM. It's all Neoverse processors that essentially are running the NVIDIA, Hopper series and beyond. So it's, they're rolling. And this was like, a freaking next generation car show that they're, rolling all this stuff out and talking about. And Jensen's up there 2.5 hours without a script. And, he probably had some winners around there, but yeah, no, he just talked about all of the stuff that they're doing, and it's insane. And if you looked at what they're doing with CUDA as well, now they're splitting out kind of CUDA based products that address many, many more things than we kind of expected. And we thought, hey, AMD is getting ROCm up there, and they're working with PyTorch and some of these other guys, and they're finally making it so it's easy to run these workloads on AMD MI series. And then you look at what NVIDIA is doing with their software. They're as much a software company as they are a hardware anymore, and they are reaping the benefits of having kind of an all-in-one ecosystem of hardware and software products that is easy to roll out as compared to everybody else.
Next, there was a report from BenchLife that AMD had sold 200,000 RX 9070 series GPUs, and it was being reported all around, and I was putting it on the list, and then I saw that a few hours ago, AMD responded to Tom's Hardware with a clarification that no claims about sales numbers were given at the event that BenchLife was referring to. Quote, there was discussion about strong demand for RX 9000 and X3D, but the 200,000 claim was not a part of that conversation, according to AMD. The BenchLife page, which seems to have been the original source of the claim, has also been pulled. So that's been deleted. This was debunked by AMD themselves. So we have no idea how many were actually sold, and we can't ask Mind Factory anymore, because they're not selling any of these.
Let me ask you this: how many Micro Center are there in the U.S.?
Well, there's 25, and they're in 19 total states.
Okay, so each one on average got in between 800 and 1,000 cards. Okay. So we know baseline that we're looking at about 25,000 cards just to a brick and mortar in the U.S. So. Yeah.
So double that, and that's your total U.S. sales. I was guessing around 50,000. That makes sense to me. But
what's the big overclockers UK? They had 1,000 of just one of the Sapphire SKUs, and they built skyscrapers out of boxes.
Yeah. So which may or may not have been hollow in the middle.
We're all hollow in the middle at one point.
At some point, you will see an uptick in AMD users in the Steam hardware survey, for example. Perhaps.
Ooh.
Maybe.
AMD
fans
all the way up to 3%.
It's rigged.
I think that they initially have thought that they've gone up about 5% in this yearly sales. So they went from 10% to 15%, which is, a significant jump, but NVIDIA is still sitting on 84.9% or something like that.
Speaking of video cards, and I mean that with a Z, because this is from videocards.com, MSI as if we didn't already know, they're basically an NVIDIA partner now because they're not launching any AMD cards this generation. It's been made official, NVIDIA only. No ARC, no Radeon. Tom's Hardware.
No Matrox.
Received this reply. Regarding your question, MSI is not manufacturing AMD GPUs this generation. That's pretty definitive.
AMD did have a sort of an allocation bias where they biased a lot of their production to the AMD specific card manufacturers such as Sapphire and PowerColor.
Okay.
And nobody ignores Asus, of course.
Oh yeah, the Asus is in there.
But
as well.
Look at last, if you look at last generation, MSI had very limited RTX 7000 series. I mean, there was like 3 on their site, and that was it. And I think that they just kind of dropped that off. They saw the 10% market share, and like it's not worth us to create a line to print these boards out. So they don't anymore, which is unfortunate because I like MSI.
It was 4. Cards. They had 4 cards, and for the 5000 series, I just went back and looked. The article references 39 reference based models for the 5000 series, down to 4.
That seems excessive.
In the 6000 series, and now 0.
That's
MSI's
much reasonable.
RTX 50 series lineup is unbelievable. But you know what? Sometimes you don't want a desktop GPU. You don't want a big, archaic PCI Express expansion card. I mean, what year is this? Obviously, everybody's going to be gaming on mobile. And to that end, Qualcomm has debuted new Snapdragon G handheld gaming PC chips. They aim to compete with Intel and AMD. You know those gaming handhelds. Lenovo has one that's Intel-powered. AMD is in all sorts of things. They're in the Steam Deck. They're in the ROG Ally. Well, Snapdragon says, hold on a minute. Forget that x86 crap. We've got Snapdragon G3 Gen 3 and others. And of course, the Cryo octa-core CPUs.
Is it Cryo or Cairo?
Kryo.
Cryo.
I'm pretty sure that's Cryo.
Cairo was Power Logic. NVIDIA Logic.
Yes.
Power.
I knew someone was going to bring up Power 9 or Power 10 sooner or later.
Now they're Gen on Gen.
About the,
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Their Gen on Gen performance, they claim, is up to 30% faster and 28% better GPU than the previous generation, the G3X Gen 2. Now, of course, the G3X versus the G3 Gen 3, make sure that you know what you're looking for when you go shopping for that next gaming handheld that has a Snapdragon in it. So, I don't know. Although, I saw a related story coming up later that could be quite interesting when it comes to these
I agree. I was thinking the same.
Handheld devices, because there is one little hang up when you don't have an x86 platform not running Windows. There's certain games that won't function for a certain reason. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, the hardware foundation is there from Snapdragon. Now we just have to wait for the barrage of handhelds that take advantage of it. Speaking of barrage, Patch Tuesday. Usually a bunch of updates, sometimes obnoxious ads masquerading as security updates, or putting Copilot down by your clock and you don't even know where it came from.
And again.
But this Patch Tuesday, it accidentally got rid of Copilot. Maybe it detected it as malware for you.
Well, this is the absolutely ironic part about the whole thing is that Microsoft has sworn up and down that there is no possible way to remove Copilot from Windows 11 without breaking Windows 11. And then they did it accidentally with one of their KBs last week. Now, it doesn't do it for everyone. So that's a little unfortunate. But yes, it didn't just unpin it, which is usually what they say. Oh, well, if you just unpin it and you don't use it, it doesn't do anything. It's totally not recording every single move you make and just not storing it locally. It's just putting it up to the cloud. So this actually, completely killed it. There's a PowerShell command you can use to sort of disembowel it, but it's still there. But apparently, with this update, for some people, it completely and utterly removed it and didn't destroy the Windows install. So there is a way, and hopefully someone's going to reverse engineer it, because that would just be hilarious.
Oh, somebody will.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen news yet because it has been over a week. This was last Tuesday, so it's been 8 days now. I guess they're all worried about the fact you can't download Roblox from the Windows Store anymore, and you got to go to the actual site to get it so that your kids can get abused or whatever it is that Roblox has been in the news for lately. Apparently it's a villainous hive of scum and debauchery.
I don't know how much longer this will be a service, but I've been on every new install, including the ones down here that I've tested CPUs and GPUs on lately. I've been using this thing from Zoicware, Remove Windows AI. It's just a simple command you put into PowerShell.
Yeah, it's the PowerShell one. So it's just removing the service, but it's not getting completely rid of it.
I don't know. It seems to, because it gets rid of it. I used to do a manual uninstall of Copilot from the apps section inside of settings because it lets you uninstall it from there. But then it doesn't really uninstall it all the way. And this will go through and just clean. It deletes processes. It creates policies and deletes registry entries and all kinds of stuff. So for now, I mean, these PowerShell things always come and go because Microsoft blocks them with security updates.
Who developed PowerShell after all? Or sorry, who stole it and then made it their own?
I don't know. Next, from Ars Technica, awful, in quotes. Roku tests auto-playing ads loading before the home screen.
Unskippable, just there.
Is that just on Roku subsidized TVs, or is it on all Roku devices?
I don't know where they're rolling this out to regionally or on which devices. Jeremy, I did read that some people say that they were skippable, but they couldn't see it. But I imagine in their fury, in their absolute incenseness, that they couldn't see.
It's like you hit that little X on the mobile game app.
Oh, I know the one. I know.
It pops up, and there is 2 pixels. Maybe 3 if you're lucky that will actually close it in the rest.
The touch points on those are basically non-existent.
Non-existent. I sometimes make it a game.
So the Roku, you're using your remote to try and steer over to this little tiny close, and by the time you get there, you've watched your 20-second bullshit
and you're seething with rage, knowing that not only did you buy this device, but practically every service on it you've individually pay to watch the content thereof, and are still bombarded with ads. And sitting on the home screen, you're likely bombarded with ads unless you've gone into the secret Super Squirrel background menus of Roku and disabled all that stuff.
Yeah, which after the next update will come back, so that you can watch an ad after you watch your ad.
Yeah.
Everspace in our comments said that they saw one and they're getting rid of the Rokus and moving to an Apple TV. Love or hate Apple, that's one thing about an Apple TV, because that's the only desktop or TV set-top device my wife will use. That's what's in our living room. It doesn't play ads. I can just hit the button on the remote, wake it up, and it's just our display full of icons for YouTube and whatever other service.
For Apple, it's surprisingly unadorned. It's very flat, somewhat uninteresting.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them they'll change. But this is a problem because Roku has hit such a huge market saturation. It's like, well, do you want ads from us or Amazon? Take your pick.
Every one of them will cycle through featured programs and things once you have their app open, but I don't want anything interfering with the home screen. I have been very happy with how dumb my current living room TV is because I have all the internet features turned off. You're actually able to turn off and bypass the smart screen, so it just boots up to last input.
Oh.
And it's not connected to the internet. I don't care about firmware updates. I'm not using it for anything but a dumb display. So it's permanently in game mode, and it's just like a big 4K computer monitor.
Did you see the other comment that Roku is for poor people? Pay the premium for dumb TVs.
Oh yeah, no, don't worry. Much like standard transmissions back in the day, you're going to be paying more for dumb TVs very soon.
That was the Mad Hatter, by the way. Thank you.
If you want a commercial display, you pay like 5 to 10 times as much as you would for just a TV for something of a similar size and resolution. But I guess it's made to be on 24/7 for like 10 or 20 years. All right, next, hopefully less depressing story. Windows 11 hates printers almost as much as you do. Now,
this
I
is
only
a
hate
classic
printers.
photo, by the way.
Yeah,
So close.
Office space.
It's the only one to use.
I only hate printers because I'm one of the only people I know who has a working printer. Other than being the family Kinkos, I don't hate printers. But Windows 11 does.
So the recent Windows update, possibly the same one that killed Copilot, but I believe it was a slightly different one, is breaking USB printers so that when you start your computer or turn on the printer itself, it starts getting Internet Printing Protocol, and it doesn't interpret it as a hello. It interprets it as, okay, I should start printing at random control characters. And it does. And if you've ever seen a printer that gets random control characters, you know that you are going through 100 pages of paper, and it's going to print a little bit on the upper left of each, and it's going to go through, and there's no stopping it because it really, really wants to do it. And this is just amazing considering how many stories we could be covering right now about the horrific thing printer companies are doing, about bricking printers just because you used the wrong ink, or people being upset about the huge increases in the price of ink lately. So yeah, don't worry, your printer is now just going to automatically go through a good chunk of your ink automatically, just because you turned it on. This is just lovely, and the reason that you should never have a printer.
Well, it's certainly never an ink printer. There's no good reason to have an ink printer unless you're printing photos, I guess.
Yeah, if you actually use it like weekly, then you'd be fine. But yeah, if you let it sit for 3 months or more, you're unclogging everything, and you're going through 90% of your ink in a cleaning cycle. And yeah, it's awful.
And this is just USB, so the toners will too. Like, just about anything is going to do this.
Well, then the answer is simple. Use Linux and create yourself like a print server.
Or don't have a printer.
Use an old Mac Mini in the basement as a print server.
That's actually really easy to do. Mm-hmm. They work really well.
I'm going to get the unlimited, the constant feed 9-pin dot matrix printer.
Yep.
Oh, I love that sound.
I'm going back to a mimeograph, but that's not a bad idea either.
Yeah, isn't that the ammonia based one, the mimeograph? You start doing that, you get the big ammonia smell.
Oh, you get the smell.
Yeah.
Remember that from public school?
I sure do.
I feel funny now.
I've got a new invention called a pencil, and you don't even need a computer or a printer to create a document. It's amazing.
How do you power it?
Wait a minute, though. I heard those have lead in them, and that is bad for my family.
According to the state of California, it causes cancer.
That is correct.
Pencils
but we don't
cause
live
cancer.
in California, so we're fine.
Sam says it's wireless, though. It is wireless.
True.
I hope you're talking about the pencil.
No, not if you go to a business. The businesses have the wired ones.
Mark's taking things way too seriously with correcting that it's graphite.
Like, no, it's graphite.
I know.
Don't make me go get the lead ones.
I know it hasn't been lead in probably 100 years.
Not unless you pay extra.
Then why do they sell in those little tubes from mechanical pencils? It says like pencil leads on it or something.
I know. Why does it say that? Does it say that? Let's go to Amazon.com right now, live.
Let's
not. Let's look up.
They're pencil leads. It's not lead.
Pentel 0.07 millimeter lead. Let's do the next story.
Let's do it. You know what? ARM is getting into super resolution. So yeah, it's something that they're going to have, and it comes at perfect timing when they're working with Snapdragon for these new mobile platforms, not to mention their Windows platforms.
So Unreal Engine at almost playable.
Yeah, it's like a 30% increase. It's not doubling, but it's
big.
Better. Big. What's the MIT license? So yeah, read that. ASR, ARM ASR, because we need more 3-letter acronyms in our life.
They're saying it's compatible with the major game engines and is a plugin for Unreal.
Hey, it does FSR too.
This is all good stuff.
Yeah, no, it was just entertaining because this is impressive for ARM. I mean, that wants to be the ubiquitous processor that just sort of general purposes everything, saying, hey, you know what? We can actually really make our GPU loads a lot more efficient, and we're going to do it.
And they have. So there you go.
And UE5 on an ARM. Seriously.
Oh, that sounds horrible, but oh well.
Apparently it works.
It's almost horrible anyway with all the stuttering.
Yeah.
Brett, are there any native UE5 games on Apple Silicon? Because that would be
that's a good question. Yeah, it would be. I don't know what's keeping track of all the engines for the native stuff that has come out.
There's got to, since Apple Silicon launched, I'm sure there's at least 3 to 4 games that are natively support.
There are. I just don't know what engine was underneath them.
What are the games?
Unity.
Well,
it's always Unity.
Let's pause here for a word from this week's podcast sponsor.
Your privacy is difficult to defend in today's tech-driven world of interconnected online data systems and brokers willingly and actively trafficking your data. These massive data brokers aggregate it and sell your personal information, making it easy for spammers, scammers, con artists, and marketers to gain information about you. You've now lost direct control of your personal data and could be at risk of identity theft, mail and email spamming, and data leaks via system breaches. To prevent your information from getting away from you, we invite you to take a look at this protective service from Incogni. You have the right to safeguard your own data, and you can empower Incogni to reach out to these data brokers and automatically get your personal data removed. Let them deal with the hassles and objections. This seamless process ensures that your information is continuously monitored and stays off the market, significantly reducing your risk of spam, scams, and even identity theft. Incogni will continue to protect your data by staying on top of these brokers to repeatedly request removals as they recollect your information. And yes, that unfortunately is exactly what happens. Get control of your data privacy and visit Incogni.com. Sign up and enjoy a 30-day money-back guarantee to ensure you're completely satisfied with our service. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code PCPerspective and get 60% off an annual plan at Incogni.com/PCPerspective. That's Incogni.com/PCPerspective. Use code PCPerspective.
Welcome to Insecurity Corner, your weekly reason to drink.
And our first story comes from the Register. Microsoft isn't fixing 8-year-old shortcut exploit abused for spying.
Well, why should they? It's not like governments have been using it to attack people for the last 8 years. And all it is a malformed link that, is incredibly easy to dump on someone's machine or to email and say, here's the shortcut to that file you wanted. And all it is they double click and away you go. You are deeply, deeply infected.
Compromised.
It has been widespread. It is, as I say, this is being used by foreign governments to specifically target organizations and individuals. And Microsoft is just like, yeah, whatever. It's fine. What are you complaining about?
They're implying that fixing this would be very difficult. So
yes, it would, but I'm not going to be that nice.
Now, what they're asking you to do instead is just adopt some security best practices and just stop clicking on stuff. Stop infecting yourself.
Yeah, that's going to work.
Yeah, well, basically that's what they're asking you to do. Stop infecting yourself.
That's going to work. You know what the number one most commonly leveraged attack vector is?
Executives?
Well, yes. I mean, if you include them in people. Because, it's people.
Of course.
Yeah.
From fight to repair, consumer groups push law to rein in zombie devices. By the way, cast your mind back to a time before AI was everywhere, and we were hearing all about IoT. There were approximately 7 trillion new devices at CES every year, all connected. Unfortunately, a lot of those stopped getting any kind of support, and now they're zombie devices.
Well, I mean, they're still being sold. I mean, cameras are included in this. Door systems, garage door systems, house door systems, cars, even to some extent. There's a lot of devices out there. Even refrigerators and washers and dryers are now TVs, of course, as we've talked about a few minutes ago. It's a serious problem. And this law or this attempt, one of the things is to get them, the makers of all these devices, to say, hey, here's how long we're going to support this for, and allow people to make their own decision as whether they want to buy into that ecosystem or not. If you're only going to support it for a year or whatever, just make that part of the law. So and hold them to that, and then hold them to say, okay, you didn't support this for the amount of time that you said you would. That gives some teeth to that. And then, of course, the discovery, as the lead-in said, there's a ton of devices out there that just fell through the cracks and are no longer supported, and either they have a backdoor in them or they didn't get an important SSL update or something like that. So the risk is very, very high, and in fact is very, very true. You often hear about these giant botnets that are used to DDoS other systems and other companies. Many of those source IPs are from these very slow old IoT devices, just because there's a bazillion of them out there. That's an actual number. Yeah, it's your freaking toaster.
It's your toaster.
It's your microwave. It's your washer and dryer. It's your TV.
Yep. So
this is legislation that's an attempt to try and put some sanity back into these devices.
Yeah. The drawback to it is that, unfortunately, I don't know that this legislation will do any good, because, yes, it would hold, a company responsible. But when you've got all these Chinese companies selling on Amazon, and you buy something that's IoT from a brand called MXYY,
yes, I know,
MXYY stopped selling stuff 30 days after, and then all of a sudden there's another company selling the same stuff, but their name is MXYZ.
Exactly.
Yes.
You can't really hold them accountable.
Just like your local construction company.
Don't buy crap like that.
There is a parallel bit of legislation inside this piece that is going to compel the a lot of places that own the devices that are on the networks. Let's picture Comcast or Xfinity or something like that. Yep. Let's just say they've invested in a device and it's running a lot of networks. They're in people's homes. They're selling you the modems. They have stuff out at the street. They have stuff at their switching stations, and they've gone EOL. They sometimes don't replace it. The legislation here would also say, hey, if you're still selling or giving people devices that are end of life, or if you have them on your network, then you must remove them. So that's another aspect to this legislation.
If it ever passes,
it ever passes. No, it's far-reaching. It's far-reaching, and it would cost companies money. So it'll be killed.
Yeah. Yeah. And as Kent was saying, there's a very easy out. Oh no, we're not that company anymore. We're now this company.
Next, Amazon kills the do not send voice recordings option on Echo at the end of the month. Yes, you may have heard about this. And please, I hope you don't have these all over your house and in your children's rooms and whatnot, because it's just recording all the time. And it's sending those voice recordings to Amazon, and there's just nothing you can do about it except for, getting rid of them. They're just born e-waste anyway. Send them off to a landfill. Let's fill up another one. What difference does it make at this point?
Well, they might become zombie devices, and then the previous story might apply to them, but much scarier. So yeah, there was a little box you could tick that said, do not send voice recordings to be processed on Amazon, which did, of course, absolutely nothing, but made you feel better in that you sort of said that it's still recording you, Brett.
Even
there is a battery in there that is
you're holding is recording you right now.
My Echo is equipped with ball-bearing drawer slides. It's also sealed, of course. And what you're saying is this is recording us now.
Yes,
we should be wary.
Yes, okay. It is.
All right.
We just said that. That was almost like a recording.
It was like a recording.
Shocking.
I don't know if Brett is. I've never actually met Brett in real life, so I wonder if
I am an AI construct. I would never really wanted to be forced into admitting that, but it is true.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't deny it.
No, if I was ever asked directly, I had to not lie about it.
So yeah, Ars Technica has a nice little compilation list at the end of the story they posted about this on how many reasons, how many billions of reasons you have not to believe Amazon when they say that they totally delete it after they've processed it and use your recordings to train their AIs, and then everything is totally gone. They haven't been sued successfully numerous times for not deleting those recordings in a vast variety of ways, up to and including, your kids' stuff that they're really, really not allowed to have recorded.
How can the child give consent? Are you just giving consent for your child's recordings from
Alexa gives consent for the child.
Oh, I see. So Alexa has power of attorney over your child.
At this point, yes, or else.
Mm-hmm.
How will you take advantage of all these new and very valuable AI responses and queryability and just searchability unless we record your voice and then upload them to our hyper processing
and be able to make sure that we can distinguish voices from within a household, so that we totally couldn't fake your voice saying whatever it is that we felt like at any point in time.
Yeah, on a positive spin on this, at least if you've got Alexa in the house, it'll solve your murder for you.
True. Hey, Alexa. Ooh, shouldn't have done that.
It was Cortana.
So just bleep that out every time we say it, or just let it go?
No, crank up the volume.
I don't know. It's an interesting
ALEXA. Next story from Sci Security News. Fake CAPTCHA scams trick Windows users into downloading malware. What else would they do? Of course they're helping you. Of course they're tricking you into downloading malware. What else is a CAPTCHA but just a conditioning tool so that you'll just do whatever the screen tells you to do without thinking, really?
I mean, this was
click
bound
on
to
all
happen,
pictures
right?
of bikes.
What's happening here is websites compromise. It happens thousands of times a day, unfortunately. And the malware vendors will set up a CAPTCHA where it normally wouldn't be. And they disguise a PowerShell command set behind a CAPTCHA that you interact with and give it essentially permission to run. And that opens the door. The PowerShell's command runs on your desktop, which then in turn downloads the real payload, which is some really nasty crap. So if I don't, where do you get off of this bus of stop clicking on things? It looked like a real CAPTCHA.
Be wary of suspicious CAPTCHAs. I'm suspicious of them all already.
I know. Exactly.
Click on all the stop signs. Well, this one has a little tiny piece of it. Is that count or not?
So the malware makers, vendors, however you want to call them, they're obfuscating their code in extreme ways. They're encrypting it, so it's skating through the ability to be found and detected. One sophistication begets another. So, as we ratchet up the defenses, the attackers just get more clever.
Well, they turn the defenses into an attack. Because wasn't the CAPTCHA supposed to save us?
That's true. We've said this numerous times in the past, but when are we going to get to the point of where it's just our AI fighting their AIs? Soon, right?
Well, with NVIDIA's new chips coming out, I would say we've got about a year.
Okay, so a year from now,
and Vera will just be...
There's our hot take. A year from now, we'll have home-based desktop AIs defending us against attacks from other AI bots.
I didn't mean the defense part. I meant the attack part.
Oh. I was actually thinking during the zombie devices story that, maybe those two apocalyptic genres both are partially right. We've got the AI apocalypse and we've got the zombie apocalypse. Maybe it's an AI zombie apocalypse. That's what's really going to happen.
The all-new hit game, Zombies vs. AI.
Yep, you heard it here first. We're just Nostradamus.
Quick, put a trademark on that.
I think that's going to do it for Insecurity Corner this week.
Yeah, that's all we have time for. It it was not a good week.
Hey, there was some late breaking news. Something kind of interesting.
What?
Ampere is sold to SoftBank. They're going to be a fully Ampere. Yeah, those guys have been making the massive ARM chip CPUs, 128 core and up. They're getting
SoftBank borged them too.
Yeah, I mean, SoftBank, let ARM go public again. I mean, they bought a bunch of their shares, but now they're grabbing Ampere. So it's good for a company like Ampere. I mean, SoftBank, when they acquired ARM, they injected a lot of capital into the company, and it really helped them in what was kind of a tougher time for them. Allowed them to grow, reach out, grab more design teams, and hiring people, and cross license technology and all of that stuff. And now they're just they're right up there with Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. Well, maybe not NVIDIA, but yeah. And so I'm wondering if Ampere thinks that, hey, this could be a good chunk of money that'll be pushed our way, allow us to expand, but still, probably rein back a bit. I mean, they won't, spend themselves into oblivion, but it'll be a good move for them. And in this space, it's good to have more competition.
And I think it helped that they finally got rid of that guy in China.
Well, that was ARM. Yeah.
Yeah. But, still SoftBank. Yeah. Except he refused to admit that. It was a very strange time.
Something about that he had locked the official company chop in a safe that only he could get to.
Yes.
And so they
just
couldn't make any,
refused to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're ever curious, look up how China requires external companies to register to work in China. It's a fascinating experience.
And then look up Alan Wu, because that was the guy.
Yeah.
We move on to gaming quick hits, and we were sort of referencing this earlier. We talked about new Snapdragon G series gaming chips coming to a handheld near you. And one of the things about handheld gaming on ARM, for example, that might be a bit of a roadblock is that certain titles, such as the rather popular Fortnite, require something called Easy Anti-Cheat to run.
Almost available on Windows 11.
Yes. And here's Ars Technica with Epic Games addressing one of Windows on ARM's last big app compatibility gaps. Epic Easy Anti-Cheat coming to ARM. Windows on ARM support for Fortnite later this year. So now you know why Snapdragon is excited about their new ARM graphics with 28% higher performance than last gen. You won't have to use an AMD APU-based handheld. You'll have other options.
With Epic going this far, I think you'll see better support for Windows on ARM and gaming on it.
Yeah.
Just one of the first dominoes.
Fortnite is rather popular, so
you understate that, but yes.
Sticking with gaming handhelds, which of course are the savior of us all because GPUs don't exist. From XDA, Valve begins the war on handheld Windows with a SteamOS general release.
I see potential for a confluence between some of the previous stories with ARM and Valve really bringing SteamOS to sort of the appliance, the handheld mobile gaming appliance. They have a very good chance of becoming the OS of handheld gaming. And once they go there, maybe ARM, maybe Steam sees, there's a lot of ARM based, handhelds, or Valve says, why don't we just port SteamOS there and get that running like that as well? And then finally, the last bastion is to take SteamOS to the desktop. Then why do we need Windows? I know, I said it. I guess there's some businesses that use it, but isn't Windows for gaming?
It's my day job.
Isn't Windows just for gaming?
Why do we need x86 other than compatibility? But I feel like this is just the very beginning.
You can see it. You can see it. You can see these coming together.
ARM. Apple did it first. Just like back in the day, they got rid of serial ports first. Mm-hmm. They got rid of floppy drives first. They got rid of x86 first. You see where this
they
is going?
got a second mouse button first. No, wait, that's totally wrong.
That was, yeah. So...
Well, we talked about this Steam moving to, SteamOS moving to other handhelds some time ago, and they're really doing it. I mean, this story is that it's actually happening. It was kind of a well substantiated rumor a couple of months ago or a month or so ago, and at this point, it's actually happening.
And yes, Sam in the YouTube chat, USB is serial. It's the universal serial bus.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be gaming quick hits without yet another Half-Life 2. I'm not. I guess that would be Half-Life 3. Sorry, yes. Half-Life 2 RTX demo makes Half-Life 2 look like what you remember it looked like. I've seen some of Jacob's posts on this, and it's ridiculous, the level of detail on surfaces and the gun models and everything.
Well, there you're wrong.
Oh, okay.
There were some people quite upset that in Ravenholm, the pipes, which play a very important part, at least twice, are not enhanced at all.
Okay.
And it's really kind of buggy, because as much as you think this is an NVIDIA tech demo, no, it was just a bunch of modders who got together and decided to do this. But my God, it does look like what those rose-colored glasses of your memory made it look like. Because if you go back and play it now, you'll be like, wow, I was young and inexperienced and just didn't know back then. So this will kind of help, and it's free.
Like back in the day was such a huge step up from everything else. But yeah, you look at the Half-Life 2 episodes and you're like, wow, that looks like bad Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, that was the first of the new lighting feature where when you walked out of a dark room, all of a sudden things got overly bright and then got normal again. And this blew us away on this podcast. And now, well, okay, that's quaint. If you hadn't put it in there, it'd be weird. Problem. They say a 3060 Ti should be able to play it. From the experiences of everyone going and trying it, no. A 4080 with FSR, maybe. And a 50 series with FSR and frame generation, yes. I haven't tried it on my 9070 XT yet, but I'm expecting, 40-ish frames per second or so. But I'm kind of curious to see how it looks.
You keep on saying FSR. I'm sure you mean DLSS.
Sorry, DLSS.
Obviously, there's
NVIDIA.
nothing DLSS can't do. The 4060 Ti, an incredible desktop GPU for DLSS gaming. Set it to DLSS performance and medium settings. There's almost nothing you can't do at 1080p. Let's move to our featured review of the week. Samsung has a new SSD family. It is the 9100 Pro. Everybody's doing 9000 series these days. 9800 X3D, 9070 XT, 9100 Pro. And this one isn't from AMD, although it does have red on the box. This is Samsung's very first PCIe 5 NVMe SSD. Believe it or not, they had been sticking with the old Gen 4 all the way up into the 9900 Pro last generation. And this takes things to the next level. You will see on the charts to follow just how the interface was really holding them back with the last generation. It was hitting a brick wall. And with PCIe 5 and their in-house controller, they're hitting up to 14,800 megabytes per second straight line speed. That's reads. Writes of up to 13,400. Those numbers look great on paper. That's, by the way, the 4 terabyte and up can hit 14.8. The other drives are 14,700. These speeds, obviously only possible with PCIe 5.0 by 4 NVMe 2.0. And that 5 nanometer in-house controller. And lots of RAM. Each one has physical RAM and some sort of caching system. And I mentioned the 5 nanometers, fairly low power draw for something this performant, up to 8.1 watts for the 2 terabyte model that we reviewed. That's not very high considering the Crucial T705, the previous fastest drive we've ever tested was 11.5 watts peak. So this will not generate as much heat. And just look at this. Here's pre-conditioning and then post-conditioning, just the basic crystal disk mark test. And it's hitting 14,700 megabytes per second or thereabouts. It's within a percentage point, even with the drive half full. And the writes are well above. They advertise 13,400. Now, random is where it gets kind of interesting. And of course, at lower Q depths, a lot of things are actually happening in a real world situation. So if we look at sequentials at low Q depths, like QD1, and you see the 9100 Pro actually falling behind the crucial T705 in that particular instance. But by QD2, it has more than caught up. And in straight line speeds, it has a pretty big lead. So then in sequential writes, kind of the same story. It's tied with the crucial T705 at Q depth 1. But then immediately by Q depth 2 and on, it's significantly faster and almost double the performance of the 990 Pro. We're talking it's like 96 to 97% faster. So very close to their claim of it being a 2x increase. Now in random read, it was the best performing drive, period. It outperforms the previous generation. It outperforms the crucial T705 at every Q depth. Random write was another story where actually, and not necessarily surprisingly, because the older 990 Pro was an excellent drive at 4K random write and at lower Q depths. And here we have the 990 Pro, which actually pretty much ties the crucial T705 in that metric. The 9100 Pro falling a little short, doesn't catch up until you reach at least a Q depth of 4. And I wish we had Alan on to explain what that means or why it matters, but what was more interesting to me was to run PCMark's full system drive benchmark, which will give you an average bandwidth in megabytes per second across all tests. The 9100 Pro was the fastest drive by far that I've ever tested in PCMark. It was 684 megabytes per second average bandwidth. Compare that to the crucial T705, a very fast drive, one of the fastest you can buy, 567. So it's more than 100 megabytes per second faster on average in more real world type scenarios. And that crucial T705 was very close to the performance of Samsung's 990 Pro. Those are very close in this particular test. But the 9100 Pro, it is the new desktop king overall. Other than the little hiccup with some of the QD1 4K random performance numbers, which could potentially be ironed out with firmware, we're looking at a very high performance drive, but you will pay for it. Now, recently, the crucial T705 has been on sale for like $239 for the 2 terabyte, which is very good for what has been the fastest drive you could buy, the fastest Gen 5 drive. And there's a big premium buying Gen 5 over Gen 4, obviously. If you look at SSD prices lately, those are all out of stock. I was looking at B&H Photo, Newegg, Amazon.com. All the T705s that are out there are well over $300 again. So right now, this is readily available. You can buy the one that I reviewed, the 2 terabyte non-heatsink model for $299. There's a heatsink model for each capacity for $20 more. But these are not cheap. A 1 terabyte SSD in current year for $200 it's a lot. But it's pretty much the going rate for a high-performing Gen 5 SSD, such as the ones we've seen from Crucial. The Crucial drive, of course, is an E26-based drive, the Phison controller. So it's just an example of what can happen with an in-house controller design from Samsung. Yep, what they're able to do.
Well, Phison has the E28 coming out this year, which should be a faster thing. And also QDAP, isn't that where it's the amount of I/O requests are kind of batched up together and sent as one, and that's why you get the much higher throughput? Yes? No?
Yes.
Maybe so.
Yes. Okay. Anyway.
Alan explained Q depths and the way that Windows works once, and I forgot.
Yeah. So anyway, if you look at those prices, every time you go up to double the capacity, it actually lowers the price per gigabyte by a fairly solid amount. So Yeah, getting that 4 terabyte. Looks like, the more you buy, the more you save.
It's just what I was thinking, Josh. It's really true when it comes to everything, really, especially NVIDIA GPUs.
Yes. And speaking of...
Did you measure temps on those at all?
I did not. I didn't get that in depth.
And what other question I had for it? When did the writes exhaust the cache? Did you ever see that?
I didn't see it. I've seen that kind of behavior before in certain things, but it did not appear to be the case with this. Like I've seen it before when you reach like a 4 terabyte threshold or making like test files of various sizes. I didn't do any of the local large transfers other than to fill the drive to 50%. But it was.
But usually there's a huge difference between the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabyte.
It was very.
You'll see that on the 1 terabyte.
Oh.
2, yeah.
Yeah, this is also the first time that Samsung's ever had an 8 terabyte drive. Believe it or not. So the middle of the road was always their sweet spot with the performance. Now that's the 4 terabyte, though they still haven't released the 8. I don't have pricing for the 8. That was supposedly coming in the second half of this year, but we'll see. It is time for picks of the week. Josh, please get us started.
It's kind of unfortunate that I didn't go to GTC and I didn't really have a choice. Work and surgeries and stuff like that. But the NVIDIA news made this post and it made tears go down my face because if you were attending GTC, could have gone to an outdoor kiosk where they sold RTX 5080s and 5090s for MSRP. They had something like 90 plus on hand. And if you go there to their little swag shop, you could buy an RTX 5080 if you're attending GTC or a 5090. And it's, obviously it's the reference designs. So yeah, I got to miss out on that.
Yeah, sometimes they have it up here in Vancouver, but not this year.
Yeah.
Are you sure that wasn't just a 5090 T-shirt for $19.99?
It could be.
Yeah, look very closely for a decimal point there.
Went to GCC and all I got was this 5080 box for $19.99.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jeremy, did you have a pick this week?
Not really, but kind of. Do you know what doesn't suck right now? For the first time in well over a year. The Steam sale. There is stuff popping up on my wish list that is 90% off. Or 75% off. Not between 5 to 20% off. They actually realized that people have stopped caring because, wow, your Steam sale is about as good as just the random sale you'll have occasionally for whatever I'm looking for. And they actually put out some good deals. So if you are looking to expand your Steam library or maybe grab some DLCs, there is actually deals for the first time in well over a year. I don't know when the last time I saw something was 90% off that wasn't 10 years old. And wow, at 90% off, it's only 38 cents now. Joy. So yeah, it's kind of impressive. Hopefully that this becomes a thing again where the Steam sale is something worth waiting for. But yeah, we'll see. I have very little faith, but for right now, I thought I'd mention that, hey, you don't have to go to Fanatical or one of the other sites to get an actual real discount on a Steam game. You can get them at Steam, strangely enough.
What a novel concept.
It is, isn't it?
I saw Cyberpunk on that list for $23.99.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're one of the 20 gamers in the world who has not bought that game, that's probably a good buy.
Was it the F124 was $10? Yeah,
that. I might have to buy that.
I had to get it because that's all I ever do is benchmark on it. And they have improved the graphics a little bit from 23 and definitely from 22.
Yeah, and I'm stuck on 22.
And they actually put a really nice discount on 3D Mark if you haven't picked that up or picked up a newer version of it. Although they still haven't made that upgrade to skip the ad at the beginning free. I still am not paying. I think it's down to $6 or something. I still refuse to pay for that. That's just garbage.
You know, we have a press license for 3D Mark.
Yeah, well, sometimes some people don't share it with me.
Just ask for it. I forward Josh the email every time he asks.
All the time. Yeah.
He asks about 3 times a year, and I send it to him every time.
Okay.
All right. Brett, your pick.
You know, I wasn't sure whether to kind of place this as a throwback or as a support for physical media or maybe even as an anti-pick. I wasn't really sure how to do that. But today I picked a very inexpensive CD, DVD, writer, USB connectable device that you can pick up for less than $15.
What?
Is that because it's eSATA?
The gray one, 2 over.
Oh, the gray one. Okay. All right. Hold on.
See it right there? There you go. It's $14.
DVD? Okay. DVD burner.
External DVD drive.
And
super drive.
All DVD laptop drives are essentially the same. So.
Yeah, they kind of are. So the fact that this has kind of a no name, you know, as Kent was talking about earlier about which Chinese brand name might be on
something in there.
It's pretty much going to be that same mechanism. You know, there's only a couple manufacturers of it, but yeah, this is a throwback, potential way to continue to support and or watch or even burn CDs or DVDs if you still have some.
I have that Kingston Metal USB drive they're showing there.
Are the more expensive ones capable of reading Blu-rays too? Or
well, the other one is just combos? It's not one of those. No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It is 50% off for $14.99 if you still have some media, or you want to burn some.
Excellent. Kent, do you have a pick this week?
I do have a pick this week. I actually got this to do some auto detailing, cleaning wheels, brake calipers, fender liners, that type of thing. And then I got 2 sick cats. And now I'm thinking, how did I ever live my life without owning a handheld portable steam cleaner before? Because if you've got sick cats or, you know, children,
or normal cats, normal children,
or a normal cat, or, you know, if you live life in the on the planet Earth, having something like this to clean up hard spots is really amazing. This is $80, but there is a $15 off coupon. I think it was actually less when I bought it just a few weeks ago, but it's great. It heats up quickly. It's 3 speeds. It's got an extension and different brush attachments. It comes with gloves so that you don't do something stupid like say, oh, the metal rod on this 105 degrees Celsius steam cleaner is a little loose, and try and tighten the nut on it by hand. Not that I know anyone who did that. But yeah, it's been just kind of amazing to go, oh, look, the cat has thrown up on the carpet again. I'll go get the steam cleaner and clean that right up. It's been great.
I notice it comes with gloves that go up to your elbows. Is that a good idea as well?
Yes, well, really maybe not quite your elbows. Tightening that.
Yeah.
It also comes with that top the girl's wearing, but I didn't look right in it. So
yeah,
I'm sad.
Not everybody can fill it out.
Yeah.
All right, I don't actually have a pick this week. I was going to do something dumb like hold up expensive graphics cards that people can't buy, but that's just in bad taste. I would never.
You could try the 4060 Ti again.
Yeah, I feel like that joke ran its course before it ever began. You know, I could just reach behind me and what is this thing? Oh, it's a 5090. Whatever. It's a 5090.
Oh, whatever.
Got a 50. I think this is a 5080. They look the same. I mean, it's just these nondescript things laying around that are probably more expensive than my house. So that's it.
Where do you live again?
Undisclosed location. I'm in a bunker in an undisclosed location with fake walls, fake shelves, fake games.
And so after the show, usually you drive home after this, right? Because you're in an undisclosed location at a bunker.
Well, I'm in a bunker
far away
under my home, so I take a tunnel.
You built the bunker at your house.
Yeah.
Oh, what
it's
tunnel?
Not at my. It's not. Okay, we're gonna move on. It's all.
Some people call that kind of bunker a basement.
Sam is on to me. It's a green screen. There's nothing behind me. This is all fake. See, there's not really a monitor there. My hand just goes right through it.
Yep.
All right, that's going to do it for the PC Perspective podcast this week. Thank you for listening, watching, hitting that like and subscribe and the bell, all the YouTube stuff for the 2,000 to 3,000 people who might watch this finished version on YouTube. And for the tens of thousands of people making us the 30th rated computer hardware podcast.
That's
what the hell's wrong with you?
Thanks for listening.
Or, I mean, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for making it this far. 800 and what was it again? 15?
815.
And that's not even counting some of the false starts and the experimental episodes back in the Google Hangouts era.
Oh God!
The dark times of like 2000, 2001.
Dropping glass side panels on the floor.
No, that was more recent.